My wife stole $5,000 from my son's college fund and maxed out credit cards in his name. When I confronted her, she left us 6 months later. I got full custody and the biggest promotion of my life. I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but I need advice. I'm Nicholas, 38 AM, and I've been married to Margaret, 36F, for 10 years. We have 2 kids, my son Alex, 16M, from a previous relationship, and our daughter Emma, 8F. Margaret and I met when Alex was just 6. I was a single dad struggling to balance work and parenting. Margaret swept into our lives like a breath of fresh air. She was fun, energetic, and Alex adored her from the start. We got married after dating for 2 years, and Emma came along a couple of years later. I thought we had a great life. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but doesn't every family? Margaret has always been a bit of a free spirit when it comes to money. She loves spontaneous purchases and surprise gifts for the kids. I used to find it endearing, even if it sometimes meant we had to tighten our belts at the end of the month. Alex has always been different from Margaret in that regard. He's incredibly responsible with money, a trait he inherited from my late mother. Mom was a single parent too, and she taught me the value of every dollar. V tried to pass those lessons on to Alex, and he's taken them to heart. Last year, Alex got his first job at the local grocery store. He was so excited to start saving for college. Margaret and I promised we'd match whatever he saved. It was our way of encouraging his hard work and helping secure his future. Alex threw himself into the job, picking up extra shifts whenever he could. I was so proud of his dedication. Everything seemed fine until last week. I was going over our monthly budget when I noticed some discrepancies in Alex's college fund. The balance was much lower than it should have been. At first, I thought it must be a mistake. I spent hours going over the numbers, trying to figure out where we'd gone wrong. That's when I found it: a series of withdrawals over the past 6 months totaling almost $5,000. My heart sank as I realized the withdrawals had been made by Margaret. I confronted her that night after the kids went to bed. I still remember the look on her face when I showed her them bank statements, a mix of guilt, fear, and defiance. She broke down crying, admitting she had been using the money to pay off credit card debt she'd been hiding from me. I was stunned. Margaret and I have always been open about money, or so I thought. We've had joint accounts since we got married. The idea that she'd been hiding debt from me for months, maybe years, made me question everything. Margaret begged me not to tell Alex. She said it would destroy their relationship. They've always been close. Margaret's been more of a mom to Alex than his biological mother, who left when he was a baby. The thought of ruining that bond made me sick to my stomach. But how could I keep this from Alex? He's worked so hard, sacrificed so much. He deserves to know the truth. And what about Emma? How can we teach her about honesty and responsibility when her own mother is stealing and lying? Margaret promised she'd pay it all back, but I don't see how that's possible. We're not exactly rolling in money. I work as a manager at a local factory, and Margaret's part-time job at a boutique doesn't bring in much. We've always been comfortable, but not wealthy. I spent the next few days in a daze trying to figure out what to do. I couldn't focus at work. I kept replaying our entire relationship in my head, wondering if there were signs I missed. Was Margaret always like this, and I just didn't see it? Or did something change? When I told Margaret I was considering telling Alex the truth, she flipped out. She accused me of trying to turn him against her. She said that, as his stepmother, she had just as much right to the money as he did. I was shocked. This isn't the woman I married. The Margaret I knew would never think she had a right to Alex's hard-earned money. Now Margaret's giving me the silent treatment. She says I'm overreacting and that families help each other out. But this doesn't feel like helping. It feels like a betrayal. I keep thinking about how excited Alex was when he reached his savings goal last month. He talked about maybe being able to afford a better laptop for school or having extra money for books. The thought of crushing his dreams is killing me. I'm also worried about Emma. She's at an age where she's starting to understand money, and she looks up to her big brother. How do I explain this situation to her without damaging her relationship with her mother? I've considered suggesting counseling, both for our marriage and for Margaret's spending issues, but Margaret refuses, saying it's unnecessary and that I'm making a big deal out of nothing. She keeps insisting that she'll pay it back eventually, but won't give me any concrete plan on how. I'm torn between my love for my wife and my duty to protect my kids. I never imagined I'd be in a position where I'd have to choose them. Stress is affecting my work and my health. I've barely slept in days. I can't help but think about my own childhood. My mom worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. She taught me the value of hard work and honesty. What would she think of this situation? I feel like I'm letting her down by even considering keeping this from Alex. But then I think about our family. Despite our problems, we've always been close. We have game nights every Friday, and Sunday dinners are sacred in our house. The thought of blowing up our family over this is terrifying. I'm not sure what my next move should be. Do I tell Alex the truth and risk blowing up our family? Do I give Margaret a chance to make things right? Or do I need to start considering more drastic measures to protect my kids and our finances? I've always prided myself on being a good father and husband. I thought I was doing everything right, providing for my family, teaching my kids good values. Now I feel like I failed them all. Any advice would be appreciated. I feel like I'm drowning here, and I don't know which way is up anymore. Update. 1. It's been a week since my last post, and I wish I could say things have gotten better, but they've only gotten worse after days off. Agonizing over what to do, I decided to tell Alex the truth about what happened to his college fund. I couldn't bear the thought of continuing to lie to him, especially after all the hard work he's put in. I sat Alex down in his room last Saturday. I can still see his face as I explained the situation. The confusion, the disbelief, and then the anger. At first, he thought I was joking. Then he got quiet, eerily quiet. He asked why Margaret would do this to him. And honestly, I didn't have a good answer then. Hardest part was watching the light go out of his eyes. Alex has always been an optimistic kid, always looking forward to the future. But in that moment, I saw something change in him. He asked if this meant he couldn't go to college, and my heart broke all over again. Margaret found out that I told Alex. Later that day, she completely lost it. She screamed at me for betraying her and ruining her relationship with Alex. She accused me of always loving Alex more than her, and Emma of never fully accepting her as Alex's mother. It was like years of resentment came pouring out. Then she did something I never expected. She packed a bag and left. She said she needed space to think, and that she couldn't be around people who didn't trust her. I was stunned. In all our years together, even during our worst fights, she's never walked out like this. Alex has been quiet and withdrawn since finding out he stopped talking about college altogether. Which kills me. He used to chat non-stop about the programs. He was interested in the clubs he wanted to join. Now he barely speaks at all. I've tried to reassure him that we'll figure something out, but I can see the disappointment in his eyes. Emma is confused and keeps asking where her mom is. She's only 8, and this is the first time Margaret's ever been away for more than a day. I've tried to explain in age-appropriate terms that Mommy and Daddy are having a disagreement, but it's hard to shield her from the attention in the house. To make matters worse, I discovered that Margaret's spending issues go far beyond what I initially thought. While she was gone, I started going through our financial documents, trying to get a handle on our situation. That's when I found a stack of unopened bills hidden in her dresser. It turns out we're over $20,000 in credit card debt that I knew nothing about. I'm overwhelmed trying to manage everything on my own, between work, taking care of the kids, and trying to sort out this financial mess. I'm running fumes. Alex has offered to pick up more hours at his job to help out, but I and want him to sacrifice his studies. He's already lost so much because of this situation. Margaret finally came back after 3 days, acting like nothing had happened. When I tried to talk to her about the bills, I found she got defensive and accused me of snooping. She still refuses to consider counseling or admit that she has a problem. She keeps insisting that lots of families have debt, that I'm overreacting. I'm starting to realize that this isn't just about the money. Margaret's behavior is erratic, and she seems to have no remorse for her actions. I'm worried about her mental health, but she shuts down anytime I try to bring it up. It's like I'm living with a stranger. Alex asked me if he could stay with his biological mom for a while. As much as it hurts, I understand he needs some space from the situation. His mom wasn't around much when he was younger, but they've been trying to rebuild their relationship over the past few years. I just hope this doesn't permanently damage our relationship. Alex and I have always been close, and the thought of losing that connection terrifies me. I've reached out to a financial advisor to try and get a handle on our situation. The debt is even worse than I thought, and I'm not sure how we're going to dig ourselves out of this hole. The advisor suggested we might need to consider bankruptcy, which feels like admitting defeat. Through all of this, I keep coming back to one question: can I ever trust Margaret again, even if we somehow manage to repay Alex and get our finances in order? I'm not sure I can move past this betrayal. Every time I look at her, I see the hurt in Alex's eyes. When I told him the truth, I'm trying to stay strong for the kids, but inside I'm falling apart. I never thought I'd be considering divorce, but I'm starting to think it might be the only way to protect myself and my children. The thought of breaking up our family kills me, but I don't know how we come back from this update too. It's been a month since my last update. Date and I've had to make some of the hardest decisions of my life. After much consideration and several heated arguments, I've decided to separate from Margaret. The final straw came when I discovered Margaret had opened a credit card in Alex's name. She claimed she was trying to help build his credit, but the $3,000 balance told a different story. I realized then that I couldn't trust her with our finances or our children's future. I've moved out of our house and into a small apartment nearby. It's not much, but it's all I can afford right now. Alex has decided to stay with me full-time while Emma splits her time between us. It's been a tough adjustment, especially for Emma, who doesn't fully understand what's happening. Margaret has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm overreacting and tearing our family apart over a simple mistake. Her family has been calling and texting non-stop telling me I'm being cruel and unforgiving, they say. I'm throwing away 10 years of marriage over money. It's been emotionally draining trying to explain the situation over and over again. On a positive note, Alex and I have grown closer through this ordeal. He's been incredibly mature about the whole situation. We've had some deep conversations about trust, responsibility, and the importance of financial literacy. I'm trying to use this as a teaching moment, as painful as it is. I have been working with a lawyer to protect our assets and ensure Margaret can't access any more of our accounts. We're also looking into the legality of the credit card she opened in Alex's name. The lawyer thinks we might have a case for identity theft, but pursuing it would mean potentially sending Margaret to jail. I'm not sure I'm ready to take that step despite everything she's done financially. We're struggling. I'm working overtime to try and make ends meet, and we've had to make some significant cutbacks. No more cable TV, no more eating out, and I had to sell my car and start taking the bus to work. Alex insisted on contributing some of his paycheck to help with bills, which both touches and saddens me. He shouldn't have to be dealing with this. At his age, Emma is having a hard time adjusting to the new living situation. She's been acting out at school and having nightmares. She doesn't understand why she can't live with both her parents all the time. I found a child therapist for her, hoping it will help her process everything that's happening. Margaret has made half-hearted attempts at reconciliation, promising to get help for her spending issues, but her actions don't match her words. She still refuses to take full responsibility for what she's done, always finding ways to shift blame or minimize the impact of her actions. Last week, she showed up at my apartment, unannounced, begging me to come home. When I refused, she accused me of never really loving her, of always putting Alex first. It was painful to see how quickly her mood could shift from remorseful to angry. I'm trying to take things one day at a time, but it's hard. There are moments when I miss the life we had, the family where I miss our Sunday dinners and our impromptu dance parties in the living room. I miss the way Margaret used to look at me before all of this happened. But then I remind myself of the betrayal, the lies, and I know I'm making the right choice for myself and my kids. Update 6 months have passed since my last update, and a lot has changed. The divorce is finalized, and I have full custody of both Alex and Emma. It was a messy process, but ultimately Margaret's financial irresponsibility worked in my favor in court. Alex is doing better. He's thrown himself into his studies and worked determined to rebuild his college fund. I'm incredibly proud of his resilience. We've had many late-night talks about trust, relationships, and moving forward. These conversations have brought us closer than ever. Emma is slowly adjusting to our new normal. The therapy has been helping, and she's starting to understand why the separation was necessary. She still has moments of sadness, especially around holidays, but overall, she's coping well financially. We're still struggling, but things are looking up. I got a promotion at work, which has eased some of the financial strain. We're slowly but surely paying off the debts Margaret left us with. Margaret has been in and out of our lives. She'll disappear for weeks, then show up with grand promises of change. Each time she inevitably disappoints the kids. It's heartbreaking to watch, but I'm learning to set firm boundaries for all our sakes. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown through this experience. It's been painful, but I've learned valuable lessons about trust, financial responsibility, and the importance of open communication in relationships. I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. The kids and I have started new traditions like Sunday game nights and monthly financial check-ins, where we discuss our budget and savings goals as a family. It's not always easy, but we're rebuilding our lives one day at a time.